First of all, I'd like to introduce you to PK. PK Gulati is a serial entrepreneur, an angel investor, a mentor, a writer, very much interested in all things to do with innovation and technology. He's served in a number of leadership capacities, including trustee of the global board of TIE, past president of TIE Dubai, founder of Smart Start Fund, CEO of Optimistic Ventures, and is on the board of a number of different businesses. So welcome, PK.
Thank you, Elaine.
And Faris AlRashid is founder and chairman of Oqwal Angel Investors Group. It's the first of its kind in Saudi Arabia. Faris is a member of Eisenhower Fellowship since 2005, chairman of Youth Business Forum for 2006, 7 and 8, president of NAL Investment Company, and again, a board member on a diverse number of companies. So welcome, Faris.
Thank you.
So maybe first off, I'd like to start with asking, maybe PK first off, as a definition of an angel investor. So what's an angel investor? Somebody who's just in it for the money, yes?
Let me start with something what angel investment is not. It's anything but angelic. So that's the first thing we should realize. And you know the history. Can you hear me? So the history, of course, goes to Broadway, and where there were people who were actually supporting dramas and shows, and those people would actually put the money when they didn't know if the money would come back. So I think the biggest difference between investing and angel investing is not just the quantum. A lot of us in the room probably think angel investing is small investing, but I think the bigger thing is the mind share and the commitment that comes with the investing. So the big differentiation, to answer your question, is actually the interest and the domain knowledge of the angel investor is far more important than the money that comes with it.
Faris, would you agree with that?
Yes, of course. Actually, it's as BK said, it's not about money. It's about support and help the entrepreneur, because angel, the entrepreneur at the seed when they start up their company, they need the support more than money, and especially after they get their fund from family and the proof of the concept, then they need to go to the next phase, that's the hard things to do. Angel investors are supporting and trying to help the entrepreneur and mentoring him by doing the business model, the revenue model, and how can he start the marketing the idea and spread it over.
So if I can stay with you, Faris, could you tell us a bit more about Oqwal? Because talking to you earlier, it's a fairly new opportunity, organization that you've set up there in Saudi, and yet you've got quite a large number of members. So
yeah.
Perhaps tell us, why did you see the need for this in Saudi Arabia, and how did you develop it?
We started Oqal more than 2 years ago, and let's talk about the name. The name Oqal, I don't know, the Arab audience maybe they know, Oqal is this one. So it comes of the first 2 letters from Uqul and the last 2 letters from Amal, which is Oqal. And that's what we think as an angel investor group. We think that we bring together mind and money into the platform of Oqal, so they can get to know each other. So the idea when we started is we said that in Saudi Arabia, the people, I don't think that there is a problem with the money, but the entrepreneur, they have lack of where to go when they get funded. So our government, we have more than 30, I think, more than 30 establishment or something from the government helping the entrepreneur. But they help the entrepreneur from 100 to 300,000 riyal. and which is, you know, these are the money that they get, the entrepreneurs, from the government, and it's a loan. It's not an investment. So the government are giving the entrepreneur a loan. So we said that after, why don't we get to the gap between 300 and 5 million? So Uqal is investing only projects that's from more than 300 riyal until 5 million. And we think that more than 5 million, the entrepreneur will have a business plan and he can convince the banks to get the loan. So I think that's the gap, and what we are investing is from 300 to 5 million.
Okay. And PK, what's your experience? I mean, are you of local sort of angel networks here?
So the experience in the UAE tends to be obviously different, and one of them stems from the fact that majority of the people or entrepreneurs in this room or around tend to be expatriates. So they are looking for investments for them. I think a bigger gap here actually is the lower end, which he talks about, the 100 to 500,000 riyal or dirham kind of space is completely empty. So usually if you go and look around, this is the money which either people get from their own personal earnings or they get from friends and family. And typically when we did some research here a few years ago and we tried to define entrepreneurship in the UAE, and our research found that entrepreneurship in the UAE in terms of majority was that step you took from being an employee to doing something of your own. Because you rarely had people who grew up here or studied here, so they would move into entrepreneurship directly. So most of the people actually came here as employees or worked on something, found a niche or a space to do something of their own, and actually stepped to that. Now, it didn't mean that it was just expatriates. Most of the UAE nationals who've done this were also doing the same thing. They would work somewhere and then build a business on the side. So when we looked at that, we also realized that the amount of risk that people were taking was actually pretty substantial because they were putting their life saving. So if you look around here and we could have a show of hands, people who are looking at angel investing here, the biggest problem they see is the first money they have to spend is their own. So we found that to be a space which is missing. And this is where we try to do, as private sector, something in angel investing to actually put that money.
One of the things that we found, Silatech is based in Doha, in Qatar, although it has a remit across the region. But one of the things we found, particularly looking in Qatar, is raising awareness of what it means to be an angel investor. From particularly maybe a culture where a lot of money gets invested in family businesses to saying, let's invest outside of the family business, let's invest outside of maybe a large sort of brand name franchise business into a smaller business. And I wondered sort of how perhaps you've observed, both of you yourselves in your own experience in the region, any sort of changes in mindset to encourage high net worth individuals to perhaps look at something new, something innovative. Have you noticed a change?
Like if I talk about our member in Aqal, members are from a wealthy family, and some of them are experts in their field, like their retail, business, banking, and industry. So we think that because of, as you say, the family business before as a classic business, so they bring someone from abroad, Egyptian or Syrian, then they invest with him as under their name, so under the group of the family. But now we think that the young children of the family, they want to invest outside of the family because they want to do something for themselves. They are wealthy, they are fine, but they want to start their own company. So we think that if we bring the wealthy children or a young wealthy family, that they can invest in a startup, and also if they have lack of experience, we have other members who have a good experience in different field. And also it's good for the entrepreneurs. That's what we get back from the entrepreneurs. They said when we pitch in front of Uqal, they get a good feedback because sometimes the entrepreneur, he thinks that this is the good business in the world and he's going to make a lot of money. But when he pitch in front of entrepreneurs and also investors, he will get the feedback of, come on, but this business model will not work. You have to change the business model. And he will understand and try to change his business model. Or sometimes he thinks that, okay, let's have another idea, not this idea. Because of that, we said, let's start with proof of concept rather than only an idea. When we started in the beginning, we said, okay, any idea comes, we will take it. But now, we said, if you have an idea, it has to have a proof of concept that if you have a website, you have to have a customer. If you don't have a website and you don't have a customer, we will not take your project, because we want to take him from as a startup to the next phase. And our exit strategy as an angel investor is to sell the company to the VC. And I think that's what's happening now, because there is not a lot of angel investor group. VC are doing what angel investor has to do. And I think that's we have to discuss this one also.
Yeah, it's true. PK.
So you're absolutely right. You know, one of the things which we all know anecdotally, and I think it's also factually correct, is that there's a lot of money in the region.
Yeah.
So it's a myth that there is no money. The problem is that this money is not coming enough to those people who need it. So I think a bigger session like where angel groups like yourselves and other informal angel groups are doing is to bring these two together. So there's absolutely, I think, a hunger in the market for people looking for innovative things where they can do some like risk investing, put some money and see if something comes out. And most of the people who are well off, like in the high net worth individuals, they can afford to take those risks. And I was looking at some things. One of the biggest things that we found is important for angel groups or these groups to do is they need to be led by entrepreneurs, not by investors. And I'll make the difference clear to you. The reason is that an investor in this region has a lot of places to invest. And if you are a regional investor, you like to invest in real estate and things like that because the return is far more guaranteed. And what we are talking about, there's far more risk. So actually convince them as an asset class to look at it is kind of difficult. So it has to be led by entrepreneurs who understand the risk and to manage it. The biggest thing and the biggest support that the entrepreneur, as we said, in the angel space requires is people's support. They want my Rolodex. They want me to pick up the phone, introduce them to this. So you have a financial services company, like, Faris can pick up the phone and call the CEO of the biggest bank and put them together. Yeah. Now, this support is invaluable. Yeah. This cannot be costed. Yeah. And this will come when people like him become angel investors. So I think what we need to do is to bring these groups together, which are actually looking at specific, for example, verticals, and look at innovation in that space and invest in that. There is no dearth of money, I can tell you.
So do you actively train your angel investors in a formal sense, or is it just sort of informally?
Elaine, I wish. The problem is a person who has money and a person who's successful usually doesn't like being trained anyway.
Sitting
so
in a
that's the bigger problem.
Yeah.
So the question is, even if you train them, you retain them in a game or as a friend or as socially. Otherwise, it'll be difficult to actually tell somebody who's, for example, the leader of a big group and wants to do angel investing. Okay, you know what? You have to come to a class and we'll train you to be an angel investor. Kind of difficult. So I wasn't use the word train for sure there.
Right. Not in front of a classroom. Not sitting down in front of a classroom anyway. Yeah. And yourself, Faris, do you do any sort of, I mean, the task of an angel investor isn't an easy one. I mean, and obviously you've got to come in prepared that this is money that you can afford to lose, because not every deal is going to sort of give you a high return. And there's a lot of work in terms of due diligence, which isn't easy. I mean, how do you go about sort of helping your investors through that process?
For us in Aqal, we don't sign an NDA. We always say to the entrepreneur that the idea, if you just keep it with yourself, it will not fly. And so we don't sign an NDA agreement with any entrepreneurs. The other thing for the investors, also we are a platform and we don't do due diligence for entrepreneurs. That's the idea of Angel Investor Group, is the individual are investing and the entrepreneur, if he likes the entrepreneur, he thinks that this entrepreneur can do something before the idea. If he thinks that this entrepreneur is having something about, his energy, his passion about his idea, and also he has to go and do diligence for the entrepreneur himself and also about the business. We don't do any due diligence for the entrepreneur, but we do a screening. So we have a website, oqal.org, and the entrepreneur, they submit their idea, and we have 3 phases of screening. First screen is it in the range of 300 to 5 million, and is it a new idea or it's a classic business? The other phase is we go through the idea, and the last one is we have a screening committee from the Oqal members. It's 10 members, and they have a chairman for this committee. So they meet every month, and they screen the entrepreneurs, and they make sure that he can do the presentation in 5 minutes, because he has only 5 minutes to pitch his idea in front of all the members, to make sure that, yes, he can do the presentation. And normally, we get 50 every month, and we screen them to 15, and we meet them in a monthly 15, then we get 3 or 4 from the 15. Then next month we get another 3 or 4. So every 2 months we have an event, and in this event we have 5 entrepreneurs pitching their idea in front of the entrepreneurs. So we have 6 events every year.
Okay. And PK, what criteria are you looking for?
So the way we look at it, like the biggest, so our group is far more informal, and I believe in formal groups, and I'll tell you the reason why. Legally, you're not supposed to have these kind of groups in this. You'll need to go through an FSA or kind of regulation, because if you're asking for investment. But more importantly, what we need from people is not just the money, but their commitment. And for that, and because that's where the value comes from, for that, what we take a commitment from people who invest with us in the group is to lead at least one investment. That they would lead or pull the weight for one of the investments, take a board position, actually be the representative of the whole group in that particular investment. And that's the minimum commitment that we need from people. Because that's when you can actually have peers actually multiplying their reach, so that if I'm leading one and 6 of us are investing together, I have a potential investment of 6, and each of them is being led by a peer. So the chance of success actually multiplies. That's the way we look at it. So most angel groups which are successful are the people who actually enforce this kind of commitment, besides just the cash, are the most successful groups. This is what studies say. So this is what we're trying to do.
If I can add in this one, also if we, in Aqal, to make the members more commit, we had a rule that the membership of Aqal is 25,000 riyal yearly. But you get a discount until you just pay 2,500, which is just about 10% of the amount. If you invest on one of the company, or if you host us, because we don't actually do the event in the hotels, we do it in houses and of the members. And the third one is you have to be a member of committee, one of the committee, or to be a board member. So the members, if they want to get the discount, they have to do something for the group. And that's why it's a non-profit organization, and the members are happy to do it. And also, if they do it, they get the discounted.
What sort of feedback have you had from some of the businesses you've invested in? I mean, any stories that you can share around, I mean, what would one of the entrepreneurs that you've invested in, what would they say about you or an angel in your group?
So the biggest thing that we look at and biggest feedback that we get is when we add value. So there has to be a defined value that you bring to to this. I look at the best angel investments are those where you are actually involved as a team. It should excite you enough for you to actually spend not just the money that you put in, but more importantly, the time and the effort and the mind share that they deserve. So I will only open my Rolodex and call up people and ask them, hey, listen, you got to see this company that we're doing. These guys are great. So if I walk down the corridor out here, there are a few companies that I work with and all. So those are people I'm actually taking them around. Hey, look at these guys. How they're doing. They're doing good. They're doing well. So that is the most invaluable support that you can give, and this is what only comes with commitment. And that is why I personally believe that besides the money again is incidental. Money is something which will come. If you have a good idea and you're a good team, the money will come. But more importantly, what you need is to get, as an entrepreneur, you need to sell it to a person to actually have interest in you. And that's important. And again, in most cases, I have found that it's the teams and the people you get close to, you start knowing them. And sometimes, and large number of times, their first idea never succeeds. So the whole iteration process is actually pretty important. So you actually watch that team, see them do a failure, but guess what? The next one, their chances of success are actually higher.
Good. I'd like to turn it over to the audience now and get a few questions going. So I believe there's some mics around if you'd like to put your hand up if you have a question. So maybe gentleman here, second row down. There's a mic coming to you.
Thank you. Just by way of really brief introduction, my name is Sai Pidatala. I'm a lawyer based here in Dubai and at a local law firm, but I specialize in advising entrepreneurs and investors, from early stage investors to angels to VCs. And I've done this, I've practiced in the US for a number of years as well. So my question to both of you gentlemen is just a pretty straightforward one. As angel investors, do you encounter or do you invoke any specific kinds of concerns when you're trying to enter into a relationship with entrepreneurs in this region, as opposed to entrepreneurs that you would encounter in other jurisdictions? Meaning, are there any sensitivities or anything different about this region that you would think about as an angel before entering into a relationship with someone, which you probably wouldn't think about in some other place?
PK, perhaps I can direct that to you.
So, every place has its own specific idiosyncrasies that you would see. So one of the biggest concerns that we have from a legal point of view tends to be that most of the commercial law here is incapable of handling the complexities or things people have started learning, stock options, class of shares, all these things are just not capable. So which basically puts some kinds of overheads in terms of legality and stuff which happens. So this is unique, especially in the UAE context, because majority of the deals tend to be between expats who don't have residence here. So that's one. The second would be the legality, which actually gets overheaded, so you have to be careful about or sensitive about, is the fact that if it's an expat, what is his legal status? Is he allowed by law to do the contract that he's doing with you? For example, if he's working with somebody, is sponsored by somebody else, those issues do happen. So, most of the groups that you would see would have standard documentation and these things worked out or thought out. So those would be the issues. Now, of course, on a specific deal, you would have specific issues which get sorted at that time.
Okay. Can I take another question here? Gentleman here?
Mahmoud. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm trying my first startup. And I've pitched to a couple of investors, angel investors. I have a question. When you see an entrepreneur that you click and you like the energy and you also like the product or the idea or the proof of concept that they have, after that point, what are the first set of questions that comes through your mind? Like you like the person, the team, and you like the idea or the proof of concept. What goes through your mind about what do you care about most after that? Also, I like your honesty about when you say angels investors are not angels, because when we look at we see the scenarios of Dragon's Den, the sharks and everything. What are
They aren't sharks either, by the way, but that's fine.
No, what do you think is the right percentage an entrepreneur should give up to an investor, and what should an angel investor, agree to when it comes to a good idea and a good team?
Okay, can I, so there's two questions there. Firstly, what are the questions that go through your mind? Faraz, perhaps for you first. You like the idea, you like the product. What are the next questions that go through your mind when you see someone pitch?
I think the most important question is, what are you going to do with this money? If I give you the money, what are you going to do with it? So you have to have a smaller plan or something that, where are you going? Are you going to invest it in an office, or you bring, or you are going to invest it in developing your program? This is the first question. The second thing is, what is the percentage? What is the percentage that you are going to give up to give it to the angel investor?
And the sort of percentage that you would be looking for?
Yeah.
I mean, PK as well? What sort of
my advice to the entrepreneur is, don't give up, especially in the first phase. Sometimes the entrepreneur will be, happy about his business and he wants to raise 2 million. And in 2 million, he wants to give 50% or 60%. Rather than giving 2 million, start with, let's say, the thing that you can live with 6 months, or like 500 or 400, and give a little percentage. So if you give 50 or 60 or even 70 to the investor, what comes to you? Then in Series A and Series B, you will be ending off what, 5% or 3%? It's nothing. So our advice always to the entrepreneur is, don't go for the big money in the beginning. Start with the small and give up a small percentage. Then in the second phase, you can.
I have a far more practical answer to that question. I personally believe is, what is the rate at which you can get it? The question is, you don't have the luxury of having 20 angel investors fighting for your stake. So the first thing would be that you get a value that you put to it yourself and you think is enough to give away. The second thing would be, especially in the angel side, let me caveat this, you need the angel as much as he needs you. So you have to look at it from a value perspective. Of course, any angel who asks for majority or more is surely not an angel, because in that sense, he's trying to run your company. The question is, you need to have the stake and the incentive after multiple rounds, the A's and B's and whatever you want to name them. We don't have A and B, by the way, in this region, because it's not that set up anyway. But whatever next rounds you have, every round you'll get diluted. So you need to have, after 2 or 3 rounds, you should have enough incentive left to actually run the company, make it bigger, So that is why I don't think there's a percentage which you can say, oh, give 5, give 10, give 20, whatever. I don't think it's a quantum number that you can put about there. But important thing is, you find the right person to give that right percentage to. Yeah. So spend your time to find the right angel, somebody who has the right domain knowledge, somebody who has the right attitude. I usually say, if I was an angel, the first question you ask, the first question which I look at the person is how committed he is to the idea. The biggest problem that we see in entrepreneurs is they flit from idea to idea. So they have an idea a month or a week or a day, I don't know. So they come with an idea, then they come up with another idea, and then they come. If you are not committed to your idea, how do you expect me to spend money on it and then wait for you to change the idea? So the first question I look at it or try to find out is that whole commitment. Are you ready to not only put your life, your commitment, the next 2 years of your life into that idea? Because I'm putting money behind that fact. So people don't invest in ideas. It's a myth. People invest in people. So they invest in you. They're not investing in your idea, by the way, because the whole game is execution, and all of it is promise. Nothing is proven. Like, I will build a big company. It will make a lot of money. Everything is a promise at that stage. What they're looking for is a commitment and your passion in it.
I think there was another question, perhaps the last question down here. Okay.
Hi, the question I have is, in terms of looking at financial tools, why in the region aren't convertible notes used the way they are in the U.S. and other areas? Convertible notes?
I couldn't understand.
What? Nobody knows what
I
that
couldn't
is,
understand the question. I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear you, sorry.
Why in the region aren't convertible notes used as a mechanism for financing startups? Are you familiar with the financial tool of a convertible note? Convertible note?
Convertible note.
Okay, you're talking about structures?
No, I'm not talking about structures. It's a fiscal tool where it's a convertible note where you actually.
I know what's a convertible note.
Gotcha.
Or
I'm curious why it's not used in the region more.
see the law here, the commercial law, is not clear enough, and a lawyer can probably tell you, to actually support the convertible loan or whatever. So usually what happens is if you have formal money coming in, you end up building in parallel an offshore structure which supports what you're talking about, be it equity, be it class of shares, voting, non-voting financials, or whatever, or loans of this sort. Now, the market here, in my opinion, is not mature enough, or for that matter, not enough is happening for them to actually come up with different structures like what you're talking about. So there's no favorite this way or favorite that way.
Right, one more quick question.
Would you please speak slowly? I can't.
I'm usually told to shut up, but this is pretty good. I'm curious. I've heard throughout the conversations today about and around some of the accelerators providing 10 to 15K and realizing 10 to 15% in the company. Effectively, doesn't that give your company a valuation of $100,000 to $150,000 US dollars? And why would you do that at that stage?
I didn't say those numbers, but those numbers are probably being used in Jordan and Egypt. So you've got to see it from the kind of return that you get. Like, so $10,000 in Jordan or Egypt go far further than they go in the UAE or Saudi, for that matter. So I think the numbers are pretty different here.
Okay, thank you. Are we out of time? One more question, okay. It's in the middle there, yeah?
Since I'm close by. A fairly open question, but for both of you, what do you wish other angel investors knew
Great question.
that they
What you wish?
don't currently?
Other angel investors knew.
Or what do you wish they would do differently?
Say again?
Yeah,
What do you wish they knew, or what do you wish they would do? If you
so
had to send
sort
a
of,
message to your fellow
yeah, I
angels.
guess lessons or tips to other angel investors. What would you really want to see another angel investor doing?
Don't try to eat up companies. Try to build companies. Like, don't be greedy. That's one example, because most of the people who put the money up front I've seen try to take up everything. Number two, support a company. Don't interfere in a company. Don't become the company. That's another thing which you see. There's a very big, almost kind of temptation of people to try to run it for them. So that is another thing which I would suggest not to do. The third thing which I would suggest is don't have a relationship which is just money. If your relationship is just money, it will probably not succeed. So you're just spending a little amount of money. On the entrepreneur side, I would say, to make sure that these things happen, keep the person in the loop, keep connected to, take value from the angel investor. I think any network is as successful or is good for you when you can take something from it. So you'll have to ask for it. So ask for it. Most angel investors would help if you ask a specific question.
Thank you. Faris, sort of lessons to
don't
other
think
angel
I can
investors?
add more than what BK said, but I will add that the angel investor don't invest in marketing or doing a lot of money. Just write the check, and you will get another entrepreneurs coming to you without doing marketing or. I think it's about writing the check to the entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much to my colleagues here on the panel. Thank you very much.